Hi, my name is Ben and I'm a physical therapist here at Total Physical Therapy in Amarillo. And today we are going to recap week number 7, coming after a hip injury and getting back into running. Today we are going to discuss the topic of how fast should I be running whenever I first start running as a new runner, or getting back into running for the first time after an extended period or time off. And I believe this is a topic that a lot of us, or a question that a lot of us have questions on. And so today we're just going to discuss that a little bit. And one of the reasons I thought of this topic is because I listen to a lot of podcasts throughout the week. And one of the podcasts that I was listening to was a trio of physical therapists, and they were discussing some running protocols and what that would look like. And one of the physical therapists on the podcast was talking about how he started running a couple weeks ago, and the first time he got out the door, he ran 1.5 miles as fast as he could, which is about how a lot of us think whenever we step out the door and start running for the first time. And he was just exhausted by the end of it, and then for the next couple days he was super sore. Anyways, he woke up against the next day being super sore and decided, well, I'm gonna go out there and start running again. And he goes out there and he runs about 1 mile this time because, well, he's sore from the day before and definitely a lot more tired. And he keeps this up for about 4 days before he starts noticing that he's just completely wiped, can't do it anymore, and realizes that he's gonna need to stop before something happens. And I feel like this is a very common story for a lot of people that start running. A lot of people that I talk to, whenever I mention that I'm a runner, they always come up with the story of, well, you know, I'm not really into running. It's pretty difficult. It's really hard. And I'm here to tell you that that is not necessarily the case. A lot of people have the preconceived notion that you got to go in and just completely destroy yourself when you get out and run for the first time. And that is just not sustainable over a long period of time. Now, that's not to say that you can't have a hard workout every once in a while, but if we start looking at the training schedules of all the elite marathoners, or elite runners just in general, yeah, they're going to have hard days, but by far the vast majority of what they're running is at a pretty easy pace. And so for someone who's getting into running, it's important that we discuss how hard we should be running. And whenever we're first getting into running, I think the most important thing is to feel like you could definitely run further by the time you are done. And so a lot of people would call this conversational pace. Right now I'm talking into the camera, and granted I'm talking in complete sentences and don't really have to take a whole lot of breaths. Whenever you're running, that should be pretty similar. You should be able to carry on a conversation with someone, maybe not like what I'm doing right now without really having to pause and take a breath, but you should be able to talk, and it shouldn't be something that you're sputtering out, 3 or 4 words here and there and taking big gaps of breath in between. And so that's what a lot of people term as the talk test. Now, if you are into heart rate and you gather your heart rate and you know what your maximum heart rate is, and you can track it that way, then you're probably going to be in either zone 1 or zone 2, which is looking at anywhere from about 50 to 70% of your heart rate max. And so if you're training in this zone, your breathing should be pretty easy, and by the time you're done with your runs, you should definitely feel like you could have gone a lot further. Now, the benefit of us starting with a walk-run program is that you're going to be doing, like this week I started 30-second intervals of running with walking. And so if you start that easy, you should definitely be keeping your heart rate down just in general. But you should definitely make sure that you're making sure that you can talk the whole time while you're doing it. To recap this week I started my walk-run progressions, and it was a blast being able to start those. On Tuesday, I did 30 seconds of running, 1 minute of walking, and did about 20 minutes of that with a warm-up walk and a cool-down walk afterwards. And then on Thursday, I was able to do 1 minute on, 1 minute off, of a walk-run progression for, again, about 20 minutes. And then on Saturday, it was 2 minutes on of running and then 1 minute off of walking. And those were my running sessions for the week. All of my other sessions in the week were walking, if I was walking. Some of the days I had to take off days because my wife, again, was walking with some of her buds. And so that was how I scheduled out my week. Now we have, unfortunately, I have another factor that could play into this recovery process and me going through the progressions. Last week on Wednesday, I only had two patients in the clinic, and so after 10 o'clock all the way to the end of the day, I was sitting at my desk and working on videos for y'all and developing websites and things like that. And so needless to say, I was sitting at my desk pretty much the whole time. And right around 4:30 in the afternoon, I felt a little zinger go down my back from just sitting all day and being in a bad position. And as soon as it happened, I knew pretty certain what had happened. And what ensued was the next couple days of having some disc-related symptoms. Can't confirm whether it's a disc or not, but all the signs and symptoms are pointing towards disc-like behaviors with sharp stabbing / tingling pain whenever I bend down into flexion, and it's relieved whenever I'm upright or into an extension based posture. And so also having dull pain with coughing and sneezing and things like that. Anyways, this past week with some of the running, I've been noticing my back pain hasn't necessarily been getting better. It's been kind of slowly, progressively getting worse. And so we may have to adjust the running progression as we move forward. And so a lot of what we do as physical therapists is we have to make sure that we are allowing the body the correct environment to heal. And so if there are things that are getting in the way of that, we need to make sure we're catching those and we're changing those up. And so running could potentially slow this down if I'm not too careful. It doesn't have to slow it down. I could definitely run through it if it would allow me to. But at the moment, it looks like it may or may not. So I'm just paying attention to how the back is doing generally overall. It's not hurting me while I'm running. It's just kind of gradually as the week went on, I noticed the pain's getting a little worse. And so we're just going to pay attention to it and make sure that I do what's necessary for me to be healthy. And so going into this next week, we're just going to decide if I'm going to continue with those run progressions or not. Otherwise, the hip is actually doing really well. Was pain-free for most of the week. There are a couple times whenever my hip is just a little bit sore, doing just a couple little things, and then it'll be sore for like a day, and then it goes away. And so, again, just monitoring that and paying attention to it. But we're definitely stringing together a lot more pain-free days than not. And so those are definitely stringing in the right direction. As far as the workouts are concerned, I had to modify and change the workouts up a little bit based on my back symptoms. And so as you can see, I'm working on some different back exercises for what's going on. Now, if some of y'all have back problems and you know it's related to a disc, you know, the exercises that you're watching could potentially help. But just remember, the magic of physical therapy isn't the exercises we do, but the dosage in which we prescribe them. And so, you know, the right dosage for me could be a little bit different for you. And in order for you to be able to know that, you would have to come in and get checked out. So that way we can kind of see where you're at, what kind of life factors are involved with what you're doing, and then we can base a appropriate prescription for where you're at. And so, anyways, I'm working on those exercises, still doing some light plyometrics, still doing a couple different things, working on hip stability. One thing that's been missing this week are some weighted hip hinging activities. I decided to take those out again just based off of how my back was doing. And so we will slowly add those back in as the back starts tolerating it. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If y'all did, give us a thumbs up down below. If you guys have any comments or questions, leave those down in the comment section below. If you guys are interested in following the journey as we move along this process, subscribe to our channel, and also look out for future running related videos as they come out. You guys have a great day.